Welcome everybody to this course, this new course on YouTube I've made for Affinity Designer. More specifically, it's going to be for the whole Affinity Studio app, but we'll be focusing on mainly the vector part, which was originally called Affinity Designer in V1 and V2. Just before we get started, I want to say that this is a beginner tutorial, and it's mostly for people coming from Illustrator and are now switching to Affinity. It's not going to be a design lecture, so you should already know how to design and what you want to design, if it's thumbnails or if it's just vector graphics. There's a bunch of good tutorials on YouTube if you want to learn that, but this video is just going to be about the tools. I'll be explaining all the tools, what they do, and I'll also be explaining or giving you some tips that I've misspelled here, but I'll be giving you some tips that I've come across over the years as I've been using Affinity Designer for I want to say like 5 years. It's been a pretty cool program, but now that Affinity has brought out this new program, I wanted to check it out too, and that's why I made this video series, because I believe that a lot of people will switch from Illustrator to Affinity, and this should be a nice little helping tool to get started, because there are certain things that you might be wondering or missing, and there's also a lot of cool tips, like for example the magnetic tools here with all these settings, but just turning it on in itself is already pretty cool, as you get like these magnetic lines that appear here if you want to center items, and all of that, how that works, how you might add shapes and text and whatever, and how this might differ to Illustrator. That's what we're going to be covering in this video. So just one more thing before we get started, and it's not going to take long. How am I going to go about this video? I'm going to start designing something, or I'll just show you tools, but the main purpose of today's first episode is going to be designing a video, an image for a video that kind of lists a bunch of stuff. So we're going to be adding text, shapes, etc. And then if it doesn't match, or if it's not something that should be in the video, or in the video that I'm working for, then I'll just add a different page. And that's what we're actually going to start with. I'm just going to show you how you can create new items. So right here, you can see I just hit Command N, but if you open the app for the first time, you'll be greeted with this screen. And what I always like to do is I'll go vertical, especially if I'm designing something for a video. I'm going to use in a video, I want it to be 16:9. And for my purposes, most of the time, full HD is going to be enough. But you can obviously choose different sizes or select your own sizes here, like the width and the height. You can change from pixels, points, inches, millimeters, whatever you might need. And then there's a lot of other options that most people won't ever use, but if you are looking for something specific, I can make a video on that as well, or you can just leave a comment down below and I'll try and respond as quickly as possible. But this way you can create a new project, and now you have one page that for some reason automatically goes into the pixel area. But as I said before, this video is going to be mainly about the vector area, but we'll switch to different pages as well, especially the layouts page, but more on that in just a second. So we'll go back here, and this also is a 1080 by 1920, or at least it should be. We can check that out by actually sizing this. And first things first, I would always enable the magnetic tool, the snapping tool. It's super helpful, and it just works. It works super well. I don't know why it's not on by default. It's something that I would always turn on, and if you find it annoying, just turn it off again. So now we can see it's 1920, 1080, so that's perfect for my video. Now I'm going to click on this icon right here, and this is the artboards icon. Now we can create new artboards, and something they've added new is, which I enjoy very much, is that you can just click these buttons and add artboards next to each other. Because before you had to like manually try and match it or figure out how to place it, and then you'd have different spacing between here, and I just found it very annoying. Obviously you could copy this so the aspect ratio is correct at least, but still that's not the perfect way. So I'm super glad they did that. You can just click this and now you have kind of like a second page, and this way you can have different items in the same document. If you want to like create a different, like a teaser for Instagram, for example, you can create a square artboard here, and you can create in this. And a quick tip, you can just hold shift to keep the size, like the aspect ratio, the same, just like that. And now you can design in here. You can copy stuff from this page to this page, and you can design different for different aspect ratios. You can also copy all of this to the next slide. With shift, I'm holding shift and dragging, and if you let go and then click again and hold shift, you can properly align it again, because shift also lets you snap to certain things. Okay, so and here you can do like A/B testing. You can change different things and export them. I'll show you that as well. But it's pretty simple. Now we've got two variants of the same thumbnail for the same video, and you can also add a third one. You can add as many as you'd like. I wouldn't do too many since the file is going to get pretty big, but if I'm designing, let's say, a graphic for a video and then also the thumbnail, I can simply do it all in one file, and then I'll have like one file for the whole video with the thumbnails, with the graphics for the video itself. And that's something that's pretty cool for organizing, so you just won't need as many files. Okay, so one thing I also want to add is that this video, as you might have noticed, is not going to be super fast paced. This whole video series, in fact, is not going to be super fast paced. It's going to be slow. It's going to be relaxed, not to stress you out. You can put it in 2x speed, in 2x speed, if you'd like to. But I don't like these videos, these tutorials that are super fast paced and with a lot of cuts. I just need to get the information, and if I want to follow along, it's pretty annoying most of the times. If the video is super fast, you always got to pause and play back the video and return, and it's just annoying in my eyes. That's why I'm making it this way. You can also, if you think that's bad, you can also let me know in the comments down below, and I'll try and figure out what's best for the viewers, because that's just my opinion, and in the end it just matters most what you guys think. So yeah, let's continue. I'm gonna delete this, and I'm gonna start editing this file. Also, one thing that I want to add in here is if you go to the layouts tab, and you'll see the pages here, you'll have each artboard as, and I'll delete this one because I copied it improperly, but you'll have these artboards here, and they represent different pages in the layout tool. So we can delete this and delete the objects too. Now we have kind of like 3 different pages, so you could export it as a PDF document with different pages too. So just so you know that. Back to the vectors tab, we can now start designing something, and the video I am designing something for is going to be a language video in which I explain how I'm going about learning new languages. What I've just used is the square tool. I've created a square, or a rectangle in this case. It's located right here, the rectangle tool. And the mouse, which is pretty cool, and a useful shortcut is just V. If you press V, you're going to return to the mouse cursor, and U is going to allow you to draw shapes, and more specifically the rectangular shape. There's also a circle, which you can, well, it's going to switch to the one that you last selected. So I'm going to add a circle here as well. And now that we've added two things, your box might be gray or white or whatever. But in my case, it's green, since green is the last color I used. Now we're going to come over here. This is where you pick your colors. And Affinity has this nice triangle where you can go around and change colors this way. And as you can see, you can pick some pretty ugly colors. But yeah, that's just going to be a design decision. That's going to be up to you. Whatever you like most, that's what I would go for. Yeah, you can change the intensity, the brightness. You can also change transparency right here. Just going to try and match this. I'm going to try and match kind of the vibrance of these colors. Okay. What I want to show in this image is going to be my step-by-step program, or different steps I'm taking for learning these new languages. And what I'm thinking of is just kind of drawing a path between these dots, and each dot is going to have an explanation, kind of like a roadmap. And I kind of want to shape it like, it would be cool kind of having it like a sun traveling across the sky, what I start in the morning with, and etc., etc. But enough about this video. Let's continue with another tool, and that's going to be the drawing tool, or the pen tool, because you can also just draw by hand. That's going to create a curve with different points. We'll get to that in a second, but for now we're going to take this. And with this tool, you basically click somewhere, and then you click somewhere else, and it's going to draw a line between that. You can hold Alt to create a, no, that's not it. You can hold Command to grab a point and kind of turn it into a curve. And now in Affinity, you got this swatch to set the color for the filling of an object. And you also got this swatch, which is the border color. And lines are just borders in Affinity. So we're going to go here and make this a bit thicker. Okay. And now we can go back to the A tool. If you press A on your keyboard, it's the shortcut for this node tool. And if you now click this item, or you can also click it on the right side here, you can click each point and move this around to change the angle at which this curve sits. You can click the end point and move it somewhere, wherever you need it. And I'm going to put this here and put this here. That's going to be good enough for me. And now we're going to bring this around because I don't want it to just stay there in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and add a slight curve bend just to make it a bit more interesting. And that is pretty much it. Now we're going to go over here and see how these layers work. It's, I assume, pretty similar. It's been a long time since I've used Photoshop, and it's been even longer since I've used Illustrator. But basically it works from top to bottom, so everything that's on top here is also on top here. And you can drag and move them around. There's so many cool features. You can also use this. You can use different items. Let me just duplicate this. Command C, Command V is what I've used just now. And you can set this shape as a mask on the background if you drag it over here. And so now you can only see what you selected here. You can select the whole thing and edit it now, and you can see the whole area that we now can't see because of the mask is also edited. But you can also edit the mask. You'll have to click here, and now you're editing the mask, the circle. And now you can't see this, but if we select everything again, we kind of reframe it here. If we drag the mask out of the shape, we can see that what happens here. Okay, so enough of that. It's not something I wanted to do. I just came across in my mind and I wanted to share it with you. You can also, again, click here and add more points if you'd like to do so. What I want to do now is just have this. Don't need that point. I want this to be visibly at a kind of right angle to come out here. Don't know if that's possible, but this is something you can play around with. And something else I'm gonna do here, it's just, that looks, it looks okay. And if you click different shapes, it's gonna select the right tool, or I mean, if you select this circle, you're not gonna automatically get these points, but you can. Convert to curves, and now this is also a curve, so you can adjust it accordingly, which is cool. I'm gonna be doing this at the end point, but for now we're gonna keep it as a circle and we're gonna connect these different points. Okay, so right here we'll see this. I want to make it a different color, but I also want to make it thicker. Okay. This is not something I usually do, by the way. I don't make like fancy graphics for my videos. It's just for this tutorial, so I can show a bit what Affinity can do. Gonna add some more points. And we can change the color, but I think I always like a grayish tone, but the black also doesn't look super bad. Okay, I'm gonna keep it like this. Now the next tool, another super important tool, is gonna be the text tool. And in Affinity, we pretty much get two text tools. We get the artistic text tool, which you can click and drag, and by doing so adjust the size, and you can just type in something and you can hit enter and can type something else. You can resize it this way, pretty handy if you need to get something done quickly. But you can also use this text box tool, or frame text tool as it's called here. And with this you can add a box, and it's not going to change the size automatically. You're gonna have to go over here and change the size. Also, if you resize this box, it's not going to change the text size, and if the box is smaller than the text, it's going to cut it off. Which is, if you know that you're going to have a text box here, that might be more useful. If you're just using it for a header, I always use this text because I can resize it more quickly. Can also use these buttons. These are actually new, haven't been around in Affinity Designer V1, so that's pretty cool too, for easier access if you're just want to make something bigger or smaller really quickly. Okay, and in my case, I'm gonna, as I said before, this is the border color, this is the filling color, and that is what I want to get now. I don't know if there's enough space on here. Okay, I also don't like this color here, but I can't make it white. That might be too many colors. And as I said before, this is not going to be a tutorial video or design tutorial video. It's just going to be a tutorial of the different tools and settings you can change. If you hold the Alt key and scroll in or out, you can zoom in or out. That's pretty cool too. Pretty handy if you're not on a trackpad. Now let me see. Okay, I've wondered quite the long time what these buttons are for, because if you're zoomed out, you don't see the difference. But once you start zooming in on this setting, you'll see the different pixels, because this is the pixel view mode, where it's like the thing that you're going to export. But if you're working with it and if you're zooming in, you can use the vectorized mode, in which you can zoom in basically infinitively. There's also a raster that you can enable or make. It is enabled already, but it disappears at a specific point. You can also enable this I think it's called grid. You can click here, command, I don't know what this is called, to enable the grid. Hold up, where is it? Yep, command and yeah, forgot what it was called, but you'll see it here. Oops, you can search for it, or because I never use the grid, but if you need to use it, oh my god, why is it not right here? This shortcut, or you can just click here for those of you that need the grid. So in my example, I'm gonna have setting a goal here, and then I think in my video I'm just gonna open up Affinity Designer and zoom in on the different points, and I'll be talking about them. Now I'm gonna go over here, and you can copy things, as I said before, by holding Alt, and I'm gonna completely change the curvature here. That does look weird, so maybe I'm gonna drag it over here, and okay, that looks bad. What is going to be the next thing on the list is it's going to be building a system. But this is my system. So I'm going to say the next step is to, or for me at least, it's going to be morning podcast automation, and I'll have to talk about this or say something about this because nobody's going to know what I mean by that. It's basically right here, and we go over, what if I put this here and then just drag it like this? But this is a very unnatural curve, so I think I'm going to add another point here, and this doesn't necessarily make it better, but I believe if we do this, yes, that does make it better. Then we have this. Okay. Okay, it's time for me to show another tool, and the next tool is gonna be not the fill tool, but the gradient tool. Where is it? Okay, yeah, it is. The fill tool is also the gradient tool. You just drag it over here, and with this little slider you can impact how much of the right color you want and how far you want it to go and vice versa with the left color. We're going to keep it in the middle, and we're going to select different colors here. Going to select orange, and we're going to keep this, make it a little more bluish, and that does not look good at all. But that's how you create a gradient. Now, let's open the Effects tab right here. This is pretty handy, pretty useful. You get a lot of extra settings that you can change. Let's start with 3D just to get it out of the way. For anybody that might want to add something in 3D, this is how you do it. Get to mess around with a lot of these options. And these can kind of change the look, but you're going to end up with, you can't change that much. You're going to end up with something that looks like this, which can be a cool effect, but I rarely ever use it. Let's change the text effects. And as you see, my effects window has stayed open, but now we're applying the effects on the thing that is currently selected. So if we go back here, you see 3D isn't clicked, but right here it is selected. What I wanted to show you is the outline tool or effect, because you can do it two ways, and I like this way better. You can set this here. You can also have a gradient or a solid color. I'm gonna keep it as a solid color. I'm gonna make it red, which I don't like, but just for the example. And we're gonna click Scale with Object, and now we can move it around as we wish. If you don't click this, it's gonna mess it up. It's gonna become a smaller border if you scale it up, and a bigger border if you scale it down in relation to the text itself. So it's gonna look different. That's something you might want, but most of the time I don't want that, so I keep it turned on, the Scale with Object option. Second way to do a border around the text is by clicking here, the border color, add a border color, and then you can go here. I don't know, that's not it. Just somewhere here you can click this. No. It's just that there's not enough space here to show all the icons. I think that's why it's click A. Okay, click the A, and here you can select the width of the border, and here you have different options. You can select the border to be inside of the text. Make sure you're in pixel, no vector mode. If we zoom in, you can select the edges if you'd like them to be cut off, rounded, or just squared. And then you can select if the border is supposed to be inside, outside, or centered. Okay, and you can resize it here, and you can also keep Scale with Object on right here. But I'm going to remove it as I do not want it on this text. So let's continue. There has to be more, right? Did I just delete the text of here? You can also connect many points together. That's what I wanted to say. And then click V so we can move this around, and we'll move it in the back fully. Now that looks stupid. Now that these are transparent, so I'll think of something else. I'll just make them darker. What was this point supposed to say? I don't know. And as I said, if you have any questions, if you're unsure how to do a specific thing, just leave a comment down below and I'll try and respond as quickly as possible. And if it's like a complicated question that requires a bit more explaining, then I'll just make a video on that as well, or I'll include it in the series. Also, let me know if this style of video tutorial is helpful, or if it needs to be faster paced, if if it needs to be slower, if I need to explain tools more, if there's certain tools I should talk about more in depth, or if there's stuff that I can skip that's like super basic, like for super beginners. But that's kind of also what this video series is supposed to be. It's supposed to be for these people that are coming from Illustrator and that have never seen Affinity Designer. So this looks pretty cool. You can also, now this is something pretty cool, you can also click this and click convert to curves, and now you've got each letter converted to curves. You can modify each single bit. You can make your own font, basically. You can round this, and that's a good point to try out a new feature, which is this. Also hasn't been in V1, is the corner tool. Well, you could do this same thing, but I believe it didn't have like this specific tool right here. This is also something pretty cool. You can go around and just basically mess around with things. You can create your own fonts. You have so much freedom with this. Let's try this tool on something that is already rounded. Doesn't work. Does it work here? Nope. Okay, but that makes sense. It has to be an actual corner. Okay. I'm gonna have to fix this, because that looks horrible. And now we can't drag it, but we can click we can click A and get the actual tool back. Okay. Nope. System. It's pretty generic, pretty basic. Now, in this case, if you hold shift, it's gonna allow you to squeeze the text. But if you just drag it from this point without holding shift, it's gonna keep the proportions. If you do it from here, that same thing happens. And if you hold shift, you can squeeze it from top to bottom or invert it or whatever. Sometimes that might be useful. I might even do this in this case. Now, next step for me at least is going to be to select everything except the background, I think. Yep. I'm going to collapse this. And just to show you, if you click Command G, you can create a group items together, just like this. And that's going to be pretty useful, especially in this case right here. So I can center everything. But now I also want to center everything except the text, just so I know that it actually is centered. And yes, it is centered. Now let's center just the text. And it appears that we have actually centered it correctly. Now let's get to the background, which is for some reason not perfectly aligned. That's an easy fix. What you can also do is you can click this icon right here and toggle the lock, and now you can't move it. You can accidentally click it, but of course if you click the lock again, it's going to unlock and you can edit it. Okay, and now in this case I want to deselect this by holding shift and clicking it while the other things are selected. I kind of want to have this a bit smaller, maybe not that small, because the title is not that important. And now it feels like we could, oops, we could have put this here. Double click or click A, whichever you prefer. Click V, that's how you switch around pretty quickly. Okay. And now another thing that I said I was gonna do is I want to go A, or I want to click right click, convert to curves, and I want to click A and kind of like, and again hold shift. Holding shift will give you different options of aligning it with certain grid lines. And you can't see this properly, but there's a yellow line which allows me to move it perfectly vertically. up here. And that is what I'm gonna make my endpoint look. Now, see, I just clicked and dragged it. That will make a right angle, but we want it to be curved. Then click here. We can change this as well. We can drag it down, and you're seeing on screen what will happen if you do so. Right click, create, convert to curves. Go in here, hold shift, drag it in. Maybe not that much. And that is my learning system. I'm not fully happy with how we changed this. Maybe it needs like a different background. Colors. Color is something so objective because some people are color blind. Everybody sees color differently. And I don't know, I'm not quite happy with the colors yet, but they're not too bad also. Let me see what happens if I turn this kind of like grayish color. Maybe add a bit of diversity in here. Make this. I don't know. As I said, this is not supposed to be a design video, design tutorial video. Right here you can see the color picker. You just click it, you don't hold it. 1 second. You can also hold it and click it, but usually you just click it and then you move over here and you pick your color and then you click it. You can apply it to the swatches. Double tapping my mouse kind of zooms in a bit. Double clicking it again. I'm using the Magic Mouse from Apple, so that's why this behavior happens. Double tapping it again will zoom out. Okay. There's, as I said, the pen tool as well. There's a lot of other tools, but I think for the first episode, this should be enough. There's a lot of things we have went over, and there's also a lot of things that we can still go over. There's a lot more tips that I want to share. I'm definitely going to continue this series and share more videos. Let me know what your thoughts are, what I should focus on, and then I'll try and make these videos as good as possible for you guys. And there's also going to be, in this series, there's also going to be a first impressions video, which you can skip if you're not interested in that. It's just my personal experience of how once I've downloaded it, what my thoughts were. If that's something that interests you. Otherwise, just skip that video. And then there's also a video of how to download Affinity, which is a very basic video. You can skip that one as well, and then start with the next episode, which I'll also have linked here after this video. Okay, so with that being said, I don't want to drag this video out any longer. It has been long enough. And yeah, as I've said, leave your comments down below so we can make this video series as helpful, as interesting as possible for you guys. Yeah, I'm just here to share my expertise, well, my experience, maybe, or using this software for a bunch of years. Yep. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next episode.